I thought the worst part of waking up on a Monday was the fact that it was, well, Monday. That was before I answered a call from the bank at 7:14 a.m. Mr. Callahan, this is Jennifer from First Coast Bank. I'm calling to confirm the payment schedule for your $750,000 mortgage. You're about to hit your 90-day delinquent mark. I'm sorry, what now? I said you're. No, I heard you. I'm just trying to figure out which alternate universe I woke up in where I bought a $750,000 home while sleepwalking. I was still in boxers, half asleep, and clutching a bowl of reheated mac and cheese from the night before. The last time I checked, my biggest financial commitment was my Netflix subscription. And even that was hanging by a thread. But this woman wasn't kidding. I have your signed paperwork here, she said. Ma'am, the most expensive thing I've bought this year was a toaster oven. She paused. You may want to check your credit report. Let me back up. My name's Jordan Callahan. I'm 28. Freelance web developer, mildly lactose intolerant, and aggressively unimportant in my family. I have one older brother, Cole, who was born with charm, cheekbones, and apparently no moral compass. Growing up, Cole was the crown jewel of the Callahan family. I was the box that came in. He was the dreamer, the future CEO, a natural leader, according to our mom. I was reliable, which is code for we'll call you when something breaks. In high school, Cole crashed a Lexus into a fire hydrant while texting his girlfriend and got grounded for 2 whole days. I once got AC in chemistry and had my phone taken for 3 months. So when I started digging into this mysterious mortgage, there was a gnawing suspicion in my gut that had a very specific name. Cole. I opened my laptop, logged into Credit Card, and yup. There it was. A $750,000 mortgage. Co-signed by a J. Callahan. That was my name. My social security number. My credit history. And right beneath it? 3 more lines of debt I definitely didn't authorize. $35,000 personal loan. $18,900 in credit card charges. A $7,000 lease on a luxury espresso machine? I stared at the screen, my heart trying to hammer its way out through my ribs. This wasn't just identity theft. This was identity hijacking. My financial life had been joyridden like a stolen car. And I already knew who had the keys. I called my mom. Not because I thought she could fix it, but because she was the gatekeeper to Cole. Hey honey, she answered sweetly. It's early, is everything okay? Yeah, if you count discovering that I'm apparently a real estate mogul now. Silence. Mom. Did Cole use my name to buy a house? More silence. Then the tiniest inhale. Jordan, you know how much pressure he's been under. He's got the twins, and Rebecca's parents stopped helping with daycare. Oh my God! You knew. I didn't think it would hurt you. He just needed a little help qualifying. You weren't using your credit for anything important. That one hit harder than I expected. Not using my credit for anything important? I was going to apply for a mortgage next year. Oh, sweetheart, don't be so dramatic. She said it with the same tone she used when I once told her I was depressed in college. I hung up without another word. I sat there on the edge of my futon, yes, futon, because unlike Cole, I don't live in a 5-bedroom colonial, staring at my peeling walls and wondering how the hell I was supposed to fight a crime that came gift-wrapped in family ties. I had 2 choices. Do what my family always did, suck it up, bury it, pretend everything was fine. Or fight. I opened a new tab and searched. Best identity theft attorneys near me. Because if my brother wanted a war, he just got one. When I walked into the fraud attorney's office 2 days later, I still half expected someone to jump out and yell, "Just kidding, you're on a prank show!" Instead, I was greeted by a receptionist who looked like she billed by the eyebrow raise and a lawyer named Deirdre Chen who had the energy of someone who ate litigation for breakfast. So, she said, folding her hands neatly, your brother committed 6-figure identity theft using your name, forged your signature, and your own mother knew about it. I nodded. She blinked slowly. Oh. This is gonna be fun. Turns out fun meant paperwork. Mountains of it. Police reports, affidavits, notarized statements. Deirdre walked me through the process like a GPS with a law degree. You have two main paths, she explained. 1. Report everything, press criminal charges, start the long but winnable process of clearing your name. 2. Try to settle quietly and eat the financial damage. Option 2 sucks, I said. Correct. But it'll keep the family dinners slightly less awkward. Joke's on you. I haven't been invited to Thanksgiving since 2018. Deirdre actually laughed. Criminal charges it is. That night I couldn't sleep. I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning like the thoughts in my head. Cole had always been the screw-up, but this was another level. And Mom? Her silence wasn't just complicity, it was betrayal. I kept flashing back to little things I'd buried deep. The time Cole got caught plagiarizing in college, and Mom blamed his bad roommate influence. The time I won a local programming contest and she asked if Cole had helped me. The Christmas she gave him an iPad and gave me socks. Used socks. Okay, that last one might have been a weird laundry mix-up, but the point stood. I was always the backup son. The emotional second string. Until now. Now they needed me to stay quiet. Because if I made noise, the golden child's crown might crack. The next day, I pulled my credit reports again, looking for patterns. That's when I found something worse than the house. There were multiple fraudulent accounts. One was a credit card opened under my name used to buy, get this, a hot tub and a backyard pizza oven. I hadn't even been invited over to enjoy either. Oh, and the house? It wasn't just Cole and his wife Rebecca living there. They had Airbnb'd one of the rooms. For profit. Under my name. They were literally running a side hustle using my stolen identity. Like a criminal Ponzi scheme with extra throw pillows. The rage hit me so hard I had to sit down. This wasn't just family betrayal anymore. This was a damn business operation. A hustle. And I was the unknowing investor. Deirdre helped me start the fraud report with the FTC, flagged all 3 credit bureaus, and put a hold on every account I had. I'll draft the cease and desist letter tonight, she said, her tone turning surgical. But Jordan, you might want to warn your family what's coming. Because once this hits court, they're going to be served. Legally. And publicly. I knew what I had to do. I called Mom. She answered like nothing was wrong. Hey sweetie. How are you? Great. Just wanted to let you know the police will be contacting you. Probably about Cole. The silence on the line was deafening. You didn't, she whispered. Oh, I did. Jordan, please, think about your brother's children. Don't tear this family apart. Cole tore it apart the minute he signed a mortgage with my name. He was desperate. I don't care if he was possessed by the ghost of Bernie Madoff. He stole from me. And you let him. She started to cry. The fake kind. The wet sniffle soft sob kind I hadn't heard since the time she accidentally threw out my college acceptance letter and said she thought it was junk mail. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up and blocked her number. That night, I wrote the email of a lifetime. Subject line: dinner this Friday. Attendance mandatory. I BCC'd everyone: Mom, Dad, Cole, Rebecca. Even Aunt Sharon, because she was nosy and had the best facial reactions. In the body, I wrote one sentence. If you want the full story, come hungry. I'll be serving receipts. Then I attached a PDF titled J_Callahan_identity theft evidence.pdf. And hit send. Friday night arrived with the kind of tension usually reserved for spy thrillers and overly competitive game nights. I reserved a private dining room at Galleria, a mid-range Italian restaurant where the breadsticks come warm, and the family drama can echo off brick walls like gospel. Everyone showed up, which already felt like a minor miracle. My mother arrived first, in pearls and performative guilt. Rebecca followed, holding Cole's hand like a supportive mob wife. Dad came, too, looking like he'd rather be undergoing a root canal than be here. Cole strolled in last, wearing aviators. At night, I resisted the urge to chuck a breadstick at his head. Jordan, he said, arms spread like he was greeting paparazzi. You didn't say this was a family reunion. Didn't say it wasn't, I replied, nodding to the chair at the end of the table. Sit. We're waiting on one more. Who? I gestured to the woman entering behind them, briefcase in hand, blazer pressed, face expressionless. Deirdre. Cole's smug smile faltered for half a second before snapping back into place. Who's this? He asked. Legal counsel, I said. For me. That got everyone's attention. Deirdre sat beside me and opened her folder like she was laying out dinner menus. Except instead of appetizers, she had copies of forged mortgage papers, credit card statements, IP logins, and a handwriting analysis that basically screamed, "Hi, I'm Cole, and I commit crimes with flair." Rebecca went pale. My dad cleared his throat like he was preparing to object. My mom grabbed her wine glass like it was an emotional support animal. Cole? He leaned back and smirked. This is a lot of drama over some paperwork, he said. You're blowing things out of proportion. Deirdre didn't even flinch. Forgery. Fraud. Identity theft. Grand larceny. Shall I go on? Cole chuckled. Come on, we're family. Jordan's just being petty because he never got over me getting the bigger bedroom. I turned to him. You used my social security number. You forged my signature. You bought a hot tub, Cole. A hot tub, Rebecca muttered. I told you that was a bad idea. Cole snapped. That's rich coming from the woman who wanted the pizza oven. Oh, I wanted the pizza oven? That was your idea for an authentic backyard vibe. My dad finally spoke up. Okay, enough. Jordan, what exactly do you want? That was the $1,000,000 question, or, in this case, the $750,000 question. I want a signed confession. I want full restitution. And I want zero contact from any of you after this. My mother gasped like I'd slapped her with a lasagna. You can't be serious. I'm extremely serious. If I don't get all three, we go full legal. Court. Press. Police. Hope the twins enjoy visiting their dad through a plexiglass window. Cole's jaw clenched. You wouldn't. Already did, I said. The police report was filed last week. This dinner is just me being polite. Deirdre slid the confession papers across the table like a dealer passing blackjack cards. You have 72 hours to sign. If you don't, the DA gets everything. The silence was delicious. Finally, Cole stood, took off his sunglasses, and said, You're dead to me. That's rich coming from the guy who already tried to financially kill me. Rebecca followed him out without a word. My mother burst into tears. My dad muttered something about lawyer types, and left. I stayed and finished dessert. Deirdre ordered tiramisu. As she took her first bite, she looked at me and said, Well, that went better than expected. I laughed for the first time in days. The next morning, Cole texted me. We'll sign. Just don't press charges. Too late. The machine was already in motion. The confession landed in my inbox exactly 48 hours later, timestamped at 2:14 a.m., the legal equivalent of a drunk apology text. Cole's handwriting was still arrogant, even in legalese. He admitted to fraud, forgery, and unethical use of identity, which sounded like the vague charge you'd get at a Hogwarts disciplinary hearing. Rebecca added a separate letter, blaming stress, inflation, and I kid you not, TikTok culture. I forwarded everything to Deirdre, who called me 5 minutes later with a voice full of caffeine and legal venom. Well, they're trying to downplay the severity, but we'll make it work. We'll draft the settlement proposal. But Jordan, her tone changed. This isn't over. And she was right. 2 days after that, the police knocked on Cole's door with a warrant. Because while Cole had signed the confession, that didn't erase the criminal activity. Especially when said activity involved falsified tax documents, interstate wire fraud, and a forged notarization from a dead notary public. That's right. Cole faked a notary stamp from a guy who'd passed away in 2019. He was nothing if not thorough. The arrest made the local news. Local entrepreneur faces charges in identity theft scheme. Brother exposes $750,000 fraud. I didn't even know I was an entrepreneur. But it felt good to be something other than Cole's quiet brother. For once. Mom called. From a number I didn't recognize. Sneaky. When I picked up, her voice was already trembling. Why, Jordan? Why would you humiliate us like this? I blinked. I didn't commit a felony, Mom. I reported one. He was trying to provide for his family. He used my name to buy a house and then rented it out on Airbnb. You're tearing this family apart. No, I said. Cole just did it with better lighting. I hung up and blocked that number too. She followed it with a handwritten letter that smelled like desperation and Bath and Body Works. I didn't read past the first line. Families forgive. Cole took a plea deal. Deirdre said the prosecution offered him 18 months in prison, reduced from 5 years, in exchange for restitution and testimony about a larger ring of real estate fraudsters he'd apparently been involved with. Yep. My brother wasn't just stealing from me. He was moonlighting as a white-collar crime intern. Rebecca didn't face jail time, but she was fined in order to pay back $25,000, specifically for the luxury items, espresso machine, hot tub, backyard cabana, and something listed in court documents as artisan firewood. Artisan firewood. I was amazed they weren't selling emotionally supportive mulch on the side. The court mandated full restitution to me within 12 months. If they defaulted, Cole would face additional jail time. Deirdre shook my hand outside the courtroom. It's not revenge, she said. It's consequences. There's a difference. I nodded, numb but relieved. I'd won. I just wasn't sure what I'd gained. The following week, I did something wild. I took a day off. No emails, no client meetings, no credit monitoring. Just me, a lawn chair, and a thrifted bottle of champagne I'd been saving for a someday that finally arrived. I sat on my tiny balcony, raised a glass, and toasted 3 things. To never being the doormat again. To finally being seen. And to never letting a single family member near my social security number ever again. Then I made a plan. To buy my own place. No forged signatures. No lies. Just me, my name, and a deed that didn't read like a plot twist. 3 months after Cole's arrest, I signed the deed to my first home. Not a mansion. Not a showy flex with fountains or marble countertops that whisper debt. Just a clean, sunny 2-bedroom with creaky hardwood, a stubborn screen door, and a backyard full of stubborn weeds. It smelled like possibility. And that was enough. I bought it with the restitution money. Every single cent Cole paid went into making this space mine, legally, emotionally, symbolically. When I signed that deed, I smiled so hard my face hurt. There were no forged signatures this time. No stolen names. No lies. Just Jordan Callahan. That night, I celebrated the only way I knew how: homemade pasta, loud music, and absolutely no company. Because I wasn't ready to let anyone in, literally or emotionally. Except one person. My niece. Madison. 7 years old. Cole's daughter. She had sent me a handwritten thank you note through her school's office. It said, "Dear Uncle Jordan, I'm sorry my dad was mean. I hope you still like dogs. I like dogs. Love, Maddie." I stared at that letter like it was an alien artifact. Because somehow, out of all this chaos, this kid had been watching. And feeling. And understanding more than anyone gave her credit for. So I invited her and Rebecca over. Yes, Rebecca. She'd paid her fine. She'd avoided jail. And she'd sent me an apology that sounded less like a lawyer wrote it, and more like a person did. "I let Cole rope me into something unforgivable," she wrote. "I thought we were surviving. We were stealing. I get that now." I told her she could bring Madison over for dinner. No Cole. Just the 2 of them. Rebecca arrived looking like she wasn't sure if I'd actually opened the door. "Come on," I said. "She wrote me about dogs. That deserves at least spaghetti." Madison barreled into the kitchen with a stuffed pug under one arm and promptly asked if I had any glitter. I didn't, but I had an old box of crayons and enough printer paper to fake art supplies. She was thrilled. Rebecca sat quietly, eyes darting around like she was waiting for a trap door to open. "It's okay," I said as I stirred the sauce. "This isn't a setup. You're not the enemy." "Not today," she sighed. "It's just weird. Being here. After everything. Yeah. Weird's the word of the year." We ate at the kitchen island. Me, a kid who used to cry over top ramen, now hosting dinner like a real adult with real chairs. Madison told me she wanted to be a marine biologist, or maybe a magician. Rebecca just watched like she couldn't believe this was happening. After they left, Madison hugged me tight and whispered, "You make better noodles than Daddy." I tried not to cry until the door closed. The next morning, a group text popped up on my phone from Aunt Sharon. "Heard you're hosting again. Braver than I thought. Don't burn the sauce this time, winking face." And that's when it hit me, my family had been watching. Not just the news. Not just the court drama. They'd seen me change. Some were distant. Some were awkward. Some tried to pretend nothing had happened. But a few, like Sharon, started to reach out. And for the first time, I decided who got access. Who got a seat. Who got to matter. I planned another dinner. My way. Invitation only. No manipulation. No expectations. No coal. And when I sent that invite, I added one note at the bottom. P.S. BYOR, bring your own respect. My dinner table used to be silent. Back in my old apartment, I ate on the couch, laptop on one side, shame on the other. Now, my table echoed with actual conversation, clinking glasses, and the occasional loud retelling of that time Aunt Sharon got banned from a wine tasting. The second dinner was bigger. Not huge, but curated. Carefully selected people. Family by DNA, yes, but more importantly, people who earned the invite. Who didn't enable Cole. Who didn't call me, overdramatic, for filing a police report after being financially gutted. Sharon brought dessert. Cousin Leo brought wine. I made pasta again. Madison brought me a glittery card that said, "You're the best uncle ever. Sorry Dad was dumb." She might be my favorite person on earth. The conversation was warm, cautious, like everyone knew they were stepping over old landmines. But they showed up. And that mattered more than I expected. As dinner wrapped up, Sharon clinked her glass and said, "Jordan, I don't want to make things weird, but I just want to say this, I'm proud of you." I froze. Proud? I'd heard. Disappointed, dramatic, and selfish, more times than I could count from this family. But proud? She continued. It took guts to stand up to Cole. To Mom. To all of us. You did what nobody else was brave enough to do. You didn't burn bridges, you just stopped letting people walk over them. Everyone nodded. Leo raised his glass. To Jordan. Our quiet cousin with the spine of a mafia accountant. I laughed, maybe a little too hard. But it felt good. Real. The next day, I got a letter from Cole. Not an email. Not a voicemail. A letter. On paper. In actual handwriting. The envelope looked like it had been chewed up and spit out by the U.S. Postal Service. Inside was a folded piece of notebook paper that smelled like regret and prison cafeteria potatoes. Jordan. I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't if I were you. But I need you to know. I didn't just use your name because it was convenient. I used it because yours meant something. You were always steady. Always quiet. But you had integrity. Even when we were kids. You never said much, but you always did what was right. I didn't just steal your identity. I stole your example. And I twisted it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I dragged Mom into this. I'm sorry I made you the villain when I was the coward. Tell Maddie I love her. Tell her dad's trying to be better. I stared at the letter for a long time. It wasn't a perfect apology. It wasn't redemption. But it was something. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't crumple it and set it on fire, though I definitely thought about it. I just put it in a drawer. Next to the deed for my house. And the glitter card from Madison. Proof that people change. Proof that I did. That weekend I hosted a small cookout. Charcoal grill, overcooked burgers, paper plates with smiley faces. Rebecca brought potato salad. Sharon brought gossip. And Leo, bless his predictable soul, brought more wine than the grocery store legally allows one person to buy. Madison helped me plant flowers in the front yard. She named the tulips after Pokemon. Later that night, she looked up at me and asked, "Are you still mad at Daddy?" I paused. Then I said, "Not mad. Just not ready." She nodded like a tiny therapist in light-up sneakers. "Okay. I'll tell him you're thinking about it. That kid. She's gonna run the world one day. And I'll be the proud uncle who once lost everything, but used it to build something better." 6 months after Cole's sentencing, I opened the fridge and saw something wild. Groceries. Like actual groceries. Not condiments. Not leftover takeout. Not a single slice of cheese and a prayer. A stocked fridge. It sounds small, but that moment made me realize I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. Safely. Quietly. Fully. And weirdly enough, I had identity theft to thank for it. Well, identity theft, a criminal prosecution, and a woman named Deirdre who once threatened to grill a defendant alive using only case law and sarcasm. After the case ended, Deirdre and I kept in touch. She even sent me a bottle of champagne with a card that read, "Next time, sue sooner." One afternoon, I met her for coffee downtown. It was supposed to be a quick check-in, but she asked something I hadn't expected. "You ever think about helping other victims?" I blinked. "Like mentoring?" "Sure. Or maybe volunteering." "You're a unicorn, Jordan. Most people in your position spiral. You rebuilt. That's rare. That's needed." I thought about it. She was right. The system wasn't made for quiet people. For those who don't yell, who don't push, who don't sue family members and slam doors. Most of us just suffer silently. But I didn't anymore. So I said yes. A month later, I was working with a nonprofit that helped identity theft victims, especially young adults and low-income families. I reviewed reports, gave advice, translated legal jargon, and most importantly, I believed people. That part? That was everything. Sometimes they cried. Sometimes they raged. Sometimes they just needed to hear, "You're not crazy. This is real. And you deserve better." It felt good. Like the closure I didn't know I needed. One afternoon, I got a call from a 19-year-old kid whose dad opened 5 credit cards in his name. He said it was just until his credit got better. The kid whispered, like he was ashamed for existing. I didn't flinch. "I know exactly what that feels like," I told him. Because I did. Back at home, things stayed quiet. Peaceful. Rebecca and I kept things civil, coexisting for Madison's sake. She never pushed for more, and I respected that. We were like work friends who shared a tiny human. Madison, meanwhile, became a fixture in my life. Every other weekend, she'd crash at my place with her glitter pens and dinosaur pajamas. We baked cookies once, and she called my stove fancy. It's a used Whirlpool from Craigslist. But hey, perspective. She asked me once, "Do you think my dad will come live here when he's better?" I knelt down to her level and said, "No, sweet pea. This is my house. But he'll always be welcome to visit, if he earns it." She nodded solemnly like I'd just said something profound. Then asked if we could have pancakes for dinner. We did. The week before her birthday, I took her to a park with a picnic basket and a kite shaped like a giant unicorn. She told me about a school project she was doing called My Hero. I expected her to say a cartoon or her mom. Instead, she said, "I wrote about you." I blinked. "Me?" "Yeah. 'Cause you used to be poor, and now you have a house and snacks." I laughed so hard I almost fell off the picnic blanket. That night, I stood at my front window and watched her hop into the car with Rebecca. I waved. They waved back. For once, nothing felt broken. I was no longer defined by the people who left me behind, or the brother who stole from me. I was defined by what I built after. And that felt right. It's funny how silence changes. At the beginning of all this, silence meant shame. Me, alone in my apartment, whispering, "What the hell is happening?" while a stranger from a bank explained how I supposedly owned a house I'd never seen. Now, silence feels earned. Like peace that got dragged kicking and screaming through legal filings and emotional landmines, but finally arrived and kicked off its shoes. Sometimes I sit on my porch with a mug of coffee and listen to the birds. No screaming. No guilt trips. No passive-aggressive texts from Mom. Just birds. And maybe the neighbor's dog barking at shadows. But that's allowed. Cole's still in prison. He sends Madison letters. Once a month, like clockwork. No excuses, no complaints, just updates about what he's reading, what he's learning, and drawings of weird cartoon dragons that apparently go over extremely well with 7-year-olds. He hasn't written to me again. And I haven't written back. I don't hate him. Not anymore. But forgiveness isn't always an open door. Sometimes it's just not slamming it shut when someone knocks. And right now, that door stays closed. Maybe one day. Maybe not. I'm okay either way. Rebecca and I talk sometimes, mostly about schedules, school events, kids stuff. She's working now. Full-time. Said she wanted to prove to Madison that starting over isn't failure, it's growth. I told her I understood. Because I do. We're not friends. Not enemies. Not family in the traditional sense. But we're two people who survived the same storm, in different boats, and somehow ended up on the same shore. That counts for something. Last week, I sat down to write a speech. A short one, 5 minutes tops. I'd been invited to speak at an identity theft awareness panel, of all things. Public speaking still makes my stomach flip like a gymnast on espresso, but I said yes. I started the draft like this. My name is Jordan Callahan. Last year, I got a call from a bank saying I owed $750,000 on a house I didn't buy. Turns out, my brother used my name to build his dream life, while I was still trying to afford mine. At first, I thought I lost everything. But that was the beginning of getting it all back. I paused. Read it out loud. It felt true. Simple. Solid. Like hardwood floors that don't creak anymore. Sometimes people ask me if I'd change anything. If I could go back, stop Cole before the mortgage, the forged docs, the hot tub. Honestly? No. Because every mess he made taught me something I never would have learned while being the quiet one. I learned that loyalty doesn't mean silence. That standing up for yourself might make you the villain in someone else's story, but the hero in your own. And that sometimes, the best kind of justice, is a dinner table full of people who show up because they want to, not because they expect something from you. So yeah, I woke up to a $750,000 mortgage in my name. But now, the only name that matters is mine.